Texas is a wild place if you are wanting to have kids. This woman pictured here, her name is Kate Cox. She and her husband are looking to have their third child that they really actually wanted. She's 20 weeks pregnant, and her fetus is not viable. It will not have a full life. And so she needs to have reproductive choices that they do not offer in Texas because they are a pro life state. So she actually had to go to a judge and sue to actually get some reproductive options. And the Texas Attorney General, Kim Paxton, was like, still can't do it. But let's look at this article just a little. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton on Thursday threatened to prosecute any doctors involved with providing an emergency smorgasbord to a woman hours after she won a court order allowing her to obtain one for medical necessity. Paxton said in a letter that the order by District Court Judge Maya Guerra Gamble in Austin did not shield doctors from prosecution under the Texas smorgasbord laws, and that the woman Kate Cox had not shown she qualified for a medical exemption according to the state's law.
I am going to grant the temporary restraining order.
A Texas judge on Thursday ruled that a woman with a complicated, likely non-viable pregnancy can get an abortion despite a ban on the procedure in the state.
The idea that Miss Cox wants desperately to be a parent, and this law might actually cause her to lose that ability is shocking and would be a genuine miscarriage of justice.
Lawyers for the plaintiff, Kate Cox, said it was the first such case since the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade last year, allowing states to ban abortion. Her lawyers asked the court for a temporary restraining order, preventing Texas from enforcing the state's near-total ban on abortion in her case, saying her continued pregnancy threatened her health and future fertility.
And according to her doctor, the medical care that she needs is an abortion. In the time between when this case was filed on Tuesday morning and our hearing today, Ms. Cox has had to visit the emergency room again, her fourth emergency room visit in the last month, for pregnancy symptoms including severe cramps, leaking fluid, and elevated vital signs.
On November 27th, Cox's fetus was diagnosed with a genetic abnormality that usually results in miscarriage, stillbirth, or death soon after birth. The Texas abortion ban includes a narrow exception to save the mother's life or prevent substantial impairment. A lawyer for the state said Cox had not shown she qualified for that exception and required a more thorough hearing on evidence.
The abortion, once performed, is permanent. It can't be undone. So the plaintiffs are going to obtain permanent relief in this case through this TRO application without any evidence being considered by this court in a full-blown evidentiary hearing.
After winning the temporary restraining order, a lawyer for Cox said it was, quote, unforgivable that she had to beg for health care in court in the middle of a medical emergency. Then, just hours after the judge's ruling, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton threatened to prosecute any doctors involved in providing the emergency abortion to Cox, saying the order, quote, will not insulate hospitals, doctors, or anyone else from civil and criminal liability for violating Texas abortion laws. A senior counsel at the Center for Reproductive Rights, which represents Cox, said in a statement that Paxton was, quote, trying to bulldoze the legal system to make sure Kate and pregnant women like her continue to suffer.
I'm going to read the full letter, but this person down here says fear-mongering has been Ken Paxton's main tactic in enforcing these bans. Mark Heron, senior counsel at the Center for Reproductive Rights, which represents Cox, he said in a statement. He is trying to bulldoze the legal system to make sure Kate and pregnant women like her continue to suffer. Cox's fetus was diagnosed on November 27th with trisomy 18, a genetic abnormality that usually results in miscarriage, stillbirth, or death soon after birth. Cox, who is about 20 weeks pregnant, said in her lawsuit that she would need to undergo her third C-section if she continues this pregnancy. That could jeopardize her ability to have more children, which she says she wanted with her husband. And I keep stressing that because so many people are just set on believing that smorgasbord is for people that are using that don't want to use birth control or that are being willy-nilly with their wombs, but they're not. I do wonder if this is another pro-life woman, like the pro-life woman that joined the lawsuit not too long ago. So I do want to know how she voted, because if she votes red and she's looking to do this, I wonder if she's going to change her tune. But I don't know, so I won't belabor that. So Ken Paxton's full statement. The temporary restraining order granted by the Travis County District Judge purporting to allow A.S. Bumortian to proceed will not insulate hospitals, doctors, or anyone else from civil and criminal liability for violating Texas laws. This includes first-degree felony prosecution, Texas health and safety codes, and civil penalties of not less than $100,000 for each violation. Texas health and safety codes, and some numbers. And while the temporary restraining order purports to temporarily enjoin actions brought by the OAG and the TMB against Dr. Carson and her staff, it does not enjoin the action brought by private citizens, nor does it prohibit a district or county attorney from enforcing Texas's pre-Roe Bumortian laws against Dr. Carson or anyone else. The TRO will expire long before the statute of limitations for violating Texas's law before Texas laws expire. Earlier this year, when women started suing the state of Texas for their restrictive laws, there was a doctor, a pro-life doctor that Texas had, and she came in to testify to say the law is quite clear, and in fact, it is not clear because many doctors will not perform these procedures, even if the health of the mom or the baby are at risk because of these laws. Dr. Ingrid Skopp, a Texas OBGYN, testified as an expert witness for the state Thursday, arguing that Bumortian care hasn't changed in Texas despite the state's ban on the procedure. Skopp works for Charlotte Lozier Institute, an anti-Bumortian group, and has shared her views on Bumortian publicly in the past. She said many physicians in Texas are confused about the new law and are misinterpreting it because they do not understand it, which has led to suboptimal care. The law is quite clear. The fault lies with the physicians are not being given guidance by the organizations that usually give them guidance. The medical societies and the hospital societies. They should have known they could intervene, she added in the reference to reports that women who have been in life-threatening situations after not being able to get one in Texas. They should have not waited until the women were on the verge of death or going to the ICU to intervene. Scott also argued that in situations where a fetus cannot be saved, she believes induction is more appropriate than performing a procedure known as dilation and curtilage, a much more holistic way to progress through the grieving process than to dismember your child and not have a way to grieve. So I don't know what to say about Texas. And for the people that are just like so pro-life, it's just like women should not have to go to a judge to get this type of thing sorted out. This literally should be a medical procedure that is dictated through the conversations between the doctor and the patient. The state of Texas and Ken Paxton and these pro-life people should not be involved. Having babies or even wanting to have babies in these restrictive red states could mean life or death of the woman who's carrying these babies. Y'all go ahead, jump in the conversation and let me know what you think about this. Like, comment, share.